Okay, 30-second board. We have to go back to the hot topics from Hangtown, starting with the end of the epic win streak. Got the 24-0 for Jett Lawrence as a 450 motocross racer, and it ended almost immediately. This massive crash on a new downhill triple that he made look great in qualifying, JT, but this looked anything but that on the first lap, 450 Moto 1.
Yeah, this was a scary moment. And, I think for Jett Lawrence, I hate to use the word reality check, but I think when you get into this winning mode and everything's going your way and you really can't do anything wrong, you start to look at, okay, I don't have any limits anymore. Everything's on the table. I can jump anything. I don't really have any risk. I think this was a little bit of a, hey, you might want to reconsider some of your choices at times. Yes, you can still get hurt. Yes, you can still crash. And that's just a part of racing. We've seen the best in the business over time have this same moment. I think about Jeremy McGrath in 1996, trying jumps that weren't built to be jumped. This is kind of the same thing that Jett Lawrence did. So it'll be very interesting to see him get back on that proverbial horse this coming weekend in Thunder Valley and see how he responds to, it's really the first big crash he's had in pro motocross on a 450. And it was let's just say it, let's call it like it was. It was a horrific day championship wise for Jett Lawrence on Saturday. But the person who benefited and didn't pay the price for anything was Chase Sexton, and he is back. And you could easily say it was just a result of Jett's bad day. I don't think that's what this was. You look at the way Chase rode all day long. You look at the aggression level when he passed Jett in that second moto. There was no hesitation. He literally ran into Jett on his way through the pack. He ran into him and through Jett on his way to the front. He just looked like he was that same guy that we watched in 2022 battle Eli Tomac all the way down to the wire at Fox Raceway in September. So I don't know if this is a start of something. I don't know what happens when these two go head to head again, but I can tell you on the podium, standing in that tent right after Moto 2, he looked like a different Chase Sexton. It looked like just all this emotion and a year's worth of just frustration and disappointment had been lifted off his shoulders. So we'll see what that looks like coming up this coming Saturday in Colorado.
Well, driving that home was that epic second moto performance. To go from worst to first, that essentially never happens. We got a nod to Jeffrey Hurlings when he showed up for the Ironman National in 2017, but we're talking like one other example we can come up with in 50 plus years of history, and that was narrative defining. Sexton's tag, unfortunately, for years has been he gets so close, but he makes mistakes in the critical moments. And when I saw him go down at the beginning of the second moto, when the day was completely set up for him to go 1-1 and get all the momentum, I'm like, ooh, this is it again. This is Sexton falling in the most inopportune time. But instead it set up something different. JT, just imagine if he had started well and just casually won the second moto. I don't think the story would be the same. It would just be he went 1-1 because Jett crashed. The last to first is what really sets this all up.
Yeah, and that will be, that will lead into the question that we don't know. What would have happened if Jett was healthy and had been in Moto 2? Now, my personal opinion is Jett wins Moto 2 easily. If you look at historically over Jett's career, that's the most likely outcome of Moto 2 in that scenario, but that's not what happened at all. So can Chase use this as building blocks, confidence-wise? They're still working on that Red Bull KTM, getting him more comfortable on each and every racetrack. That's what it's going to come down to. Does Chase Sexton take this and run with it and turn it into something that can propel him towards this championship? And speaking of championships, that's the story. What happened to the 450 Pro Motocross championship points? And I think immediately you have to look at the gap between Chase and Jett Lawrence. Now, there are riders in between them, but that's the story. 24 points now separate these two, and it's the first time since Fox Raceway in 2023 that Jett Lawrence was not your points leader. We have not seen a scenario where he's down in points and has to chase anyone. So I ask you, what happens with not only those points, but also the Super Motocross Championship playoff points? What happens from here?
Yeah, and in the Super Motocross points, Chase closes in. Jett had a big lead after Supercross, but the 19-20 point range, I think any rider will say that's under one race. So Sexton's definitely in contention for that, to try to be the number one seed going into the playoffs. But as far as the Pro Motocross Championship, I think the points are relatively inconsequential. This is going to be a weekly struggle to see who can get the momentum in the series. You go on a win streak, you can erase 24 points very quickly with a 2-moto format. But you got to be able to go on that win streak to do it. So I think the points are going to work out whoever is the faster rider, whoever is the better rider. And these next couple weeks at least are going to be quite a tussle between those two to try to grab the mantle. And then the points will take care of themselves. But that's why we're so excited going into this weekend in Colorado, because I got to figure both guys are coming in saying, I'm the man now, and I'm going to show you starting this weekend. Both riders have to feel that way. I want to transition to the 250 class here. Kind of that same thing was brewing. We started this 250 motocross leg of SMX with it's wide open. Hunter and Jett Lawrence, the previous champs, are out. Haiden Deegan quickly trying to extinguish any of that wide open talk. And now he's won 3 of the 4 motos. So what do we think, JT? Tom Vialle, great at the end of the day, and we'll get into that. But is Deegan kind of saying, no, this is not wide open?
Well, I think Deegan is the alpha of this class. I do. He's won 3 out of 4 motos. He was leading the other moto that he crashed in. So I think he feels like this is his championship to lose, and you would have a hard time talking him out of this. The variable there is no question, according to the data, and I was watching it with my own 2 eyes, that Tom Vialle was catching Haiden Deegan in Moto 2 at Hangtown. So not so much different from the 450 class. Is Vialle able to take that dynamic where he was catching Deegan, my opinion, pressured him to where Deegan made a big mistake? Vialle goes on to win the moto, and the toughest moto we've seen in this championship to date. Can he take that and run with it? Or does Deegan come out really strong, or maybe someone else? But it's a fluid situation, right? Every moto, there's confidence up for grabs, there's momentum up for grabs, and who is able to capitalize on the opportunity at hand? Because it feels like this is Deegan's championship to lose, but I think Vialle is sitting there with his hand up going, hey, I won the last time out. Like I showed that I'm here to win this championship. And the great part is we get to sit back and watch it and let them tell us the story.
Yeah, it was funny. Even going into Fox Raceway, when we talked to Vialle on press day, he said it's going to take a few rounds before I'm really good. He had arm pump and was not on the pace of the leaders at Fox Raceway. I don't think that bothered him. I think he knew that was not his best self. To hang out with him and Sexton in the pits at the end of the day at Hangtown, the guys didn't even look like they had ridden. They looked so strong, so fresh, so confident, so pumped. Yeah, I think if you ask Vialle, he's like, don't even look into what you saw at Fox Raceway. The second moto at Hangtown, that's the real me, and I got a whole summer of that coming your way. So that class is going to be fun to watch. You look at the 250 points, and I think it's kind of the same deal. You've been in this game a long time, JT. Isn't it really? It's more the mental game, I feel, than the math game this early in the season. Everyone's trying to figure, do they have someone else covered?
Yeah, they're trying to establish the narrative, because you think about what we're talking about at the halfway point, 3/4 of the way through this Pro Motocross Championship. We kind of know what to expect by then. It almost plays out according to the script that's been written through the first several rounds. So they're all trying to position for that, like, hey, I'm the guy. I'm the one you should be worried about. I'm the man to beat. And that's what's so interesting about the early rounds, is that jockeying for position. And remember, Justin Cooper and Hunter Lawrence left this class. They vacated the proverbial top seats, right, where everybody knew it was going to be kind of between those two for podium spots. They're gone. So everybody's trying to fill that void. And I think Haiden Deegan's done a great job of being that guy, saying like, hey, now's my time. You saw me kind of emerge last year. Now's my time. But I don't think that we've heard the last from Tom Vialle or Levi Kitchen, who is going into his best racetrack at Thunder Valley. I think those guys still have some noise to make in this championship.
Yeah, I agree. I think the gnarly, deep, rutted tracks are where Kitchen performs the best. He's got to make a jump. He hasn't been as good as Deegan in all 4 motos, but maybe this weekend we'll see him make that leap. Back to the 450 class. To the victor go the spoils. We talked a lot about Chase Sexton, but on the opposite side of that, it looked like it was going to be a fan-pleasing breakthrough moto win for Aaron Plessinger, and he has a pulled away from him in the last lap. Straight up, he was exhausted. So was everybody else at the end of that moto. It wasn't just him. Everyone was gassed by the end of that on a rough track and a hot day, except Sexton. But man, he was a quarter of a lap away, JT.
Yeah, I think it would be very easy for us to feel sorry for AP, but watching him celebrate and go take pictures with the fans and walk around with that American flag, I don't think he wanted anybody to feel sorry for him. He led almost the entire moto, other than like 3 corners, and I think he really is relishing the fact that he's one of the top 450 guys. He had a great first moto in Fox Raceway, He was right back to that same guy here in Hangtown. And I had this unbelievable window into these guys' inner thoughts. I was watching them with the replay, and we're off camera, right? So, it's not something that they're sharing with the public, but they're going through the last lap together through the highlights leading up to their interview. And it was so interesting to hear Aaron Plessinger tell Sexton, he's like, yeah, see where you passed me right there? And I don't look like I'm even trying. My calf is completely cramped. I can't extend my leg. I can't do anything. So in the moment, I was thinking, like, why is AP not fighting harder? But yeah, his body was completely giving out there. And I think the data kind of supports that. He just didn't have anything left to fight with, and he knew it. I think Sexton knew it. And yeah, as you said, the victor go the spoils, but it's hard. I mean, almost impossible to not cheer for AP when he's doing well.
Yeah, the fans certainly find it impossible to not cheer. I couldn't figure out on the last lap, were they going nuts because Plessinger they thought was going to win, or because they thought Sexton's going to go from last to first, or maybe both. They were just going insane on that last lap. It was really cool. And what they left behind was more contenders in this 450 class. We talked quite a bit last week about how great Hunter Lawrence was at Fox Raceway, finishing second to his brother Jett. Now Justin Cooper emerging with a better ride at Hangtown. And you never quite know when 450 rookies are in there. You expect them to be good, especially in motocross. We've seen Jett, Ferrandis, you name it, win this title. But I don't think there's any doubts anymore. Hunter Lawrence, Justin Cooper, pencil them in, podiums all summer long.
Yeah, these guys are the real deal. They're as advertised. We expected them to come in and be players right away. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to win a bunch of races or win the title. I don't think that's necessarily what's expected. But for them to be relevant each and every weekend, leading laps, qualifying well, they're doing that. So I think if you are either of their employers, Yamaha or Honda on the OEM side, you have to be thrilled with what they're doing now and what this leads into for their future possibilities. This is everything you'd want to see from guys making that big jump from the 250 to the 450. And speaking of big jumps, Jett Lawrence tried a big jump, crashed his brains out, now suffering an injury. We don't know what that'll look like going into Thunder Valley, but that's going to be the question on everybody's lips all week is what kind of Jett Lawrence are we going to see in Thunder Valley? Is he going to be back to 100%? Is he at 85%? Is 85% good enough to win for someone who had gone 24-0 prior to that? I don't know. I think they're going to be doing round-the-clock therapy, doing everything they possibly can to get him back to that. But it's an uphill climb, and he's also got to deal with this Chase Sexton character who he just gave a boatload of confidence to. So there's two conflicting narratives that are going to run into each other. A, if I'm Jett Lawrence, I'm not exactly where I want to be physically. And also, B, now the one guy I don't want to get confident again is coming in with the most confidence we've seen in a year and a half.
Yeah, and if he was beat up and he just gets a podium at Thunder Valley, hope is not lost. There's still plenty of time to get back into it, but we will see how he plays it. One other topic we want to talk about, our man Kevin Windham, one of the great personalities of the sport and also one of the great racers. It's always been the unfortunate thing for Windham that the amount of titles he should have won didn't happen because he was basically pitted against none other than Ricky Carmichael every single year of his career. But the fans love Windham. He won a lot of races against the best at the highest level. One of the few, JT, that can say, I've beaten Ricky Carmichael and Jeremy McGrath straight up. No doubt. He's done it more than a time or two. And now he is eligible for the AMA Hall of Fame. So we're asking anyone who's a 25-year, or they call it a life member, that has a vote for the AMA Hall. Let's get our man K-Dub in there. This is all disciplines, not just motocross and supercross that are in the hall.
Yeah, K-Dub was incredible. And I don't know that anybody in the history of the sport ever ran into more buzzsaws for championships than Kevin Windham did. You had Jeremy McGrath that started off, then the emergence of Ricky Carmichael, then Chad Reed comes over from Australia, and then you finish it off with James Stewart. So good luck finding a way to win a championship through that gauntlet. But that should never dissuade how amazing that Kevin Windham was on a motorcycle. And I think if you went around and polled any racers from that era about, okay, if this rider was on a certain day, who do we know we're just not going to be able to touch today? Windham would be very near the top of that list. And he should absolutely be a Hall of Famer. No question, first ballot for me.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, it's not just motocross and supercross when we talk to this Hall of Fame. It's all disciplines of racing and people behind the scenes as well. Okay, as we wrap this show up, one more reminder of how to watch The next round of the Super Motocross World Championship this weekend, Thunder Valley in Colorado outside of Denver. First, come join us in person. A very underrated round, a really fun place to hang out, and the track usually lends itself to some good racing as well. We'll have qualifying coverage as always. That's Race Day Live presented by motorsport.com. That'll be at noon Eastern. And then Peacock and SMX Video Pass, as always, is the place to watch that and all the motos live and our post-race show live. And that'll start at 3 o'clock Eastern and continue past 7 o'clock Eastern time if you want to watch all the racing. 450s will race first. They'll race their first motos and second motos first this weekend. 250s will go second. And we also want to mention again that NBC window. That will be the second 450 moto and the first 250 moto, and that'll happen at 4 o'clock Eastern time. So tell your friends, check it out on NBC for 2 hours on a Saturday afternoon, or just watch everything on Peacock or SMX Video Pass. JT, I don't know if we're going to have another race with this level of anticipation and drama coming in maybe all year. This is a fantastic setup, especially to have some coverage on NBC Live.
Hi folks, Lee Diffie from NBC Sports here. If you truly enjoyed what you just watched, you can get more news, interviews, and highlights by subscribing to the Motorsports on NBC YouTube page. You can get it all, so go for it.